Welcome back, YouTube. I am back to tell you more about my SIBO journey. So if you haven't checked it out, I've already done one video just on a little update, and now I'm back to give you more updates. The thing with any protocol, like whether you're doing Candida, a SIBO one, dysbiosis, you're going to be on it for quite some time, and it really depends on like how bad your symptoms are. For me, when I got my GI map back, it was kind of off the charts. So I had really high levels of a lot of bacterias that showed like dysbiosis and SIBO. And then particularly that Candida was also really high as well. So back in 2018, I want to say, I was experiencing a lot of different issues. So I had really bad brain fog. I was needing to take naps all the time. I remember I would work at my corporate job and I would literally go and take a nap in the parking garage every lunch because I just couldn't function. Sometimes I would have a hard time putting sentences together. And that is what kind of made me realize that, okay, maybe the Candida's back. I did a GI map at the time. I just kind of treated the symptoms. So, looking back on it now, you can't really go wrong with doing a Candida cleanse. I think everybody has a little bit of Candida in them. And that's especially true if you've had multiple rounds of antibiotics, you've been on, birth control pills, or maybe you just eat a lot of sugar, have a lot of stress in your life. There is a strong likelihood that you do have Candida. And so at the time I was like, okay, everything kind of fits. I did the cleanse and I think I did it for 3 months and I felt really good after. So this time it is a little bit different the way that I'm approaching it, because before I was very keto last time. That was really hard on me just because, you can't really have that flexibility if you want to go out and do things. So the nutritionist that I'm working with, she has me on high carb days and low carb days. And I find on my low carb days, I feel terrible. But I feel really good on my high carb days. And so this week, so that I could transition into having high carb on the weekend, I'm on 7 days high carb. And some things that I noticed is that I am extremely watery. I'm so bloated right now. But I also know that that's because my cycle is just around the corner. So one of the things that is affecting me most right now is my period. And I know it's taboo to talk about it, but I'm just going to be open with you. So my period has been more or less consistent. I would say plus or minus a day or two for the past few years. Before that, there was a long stretch of time where I didn't have it at all. And before that, it was kind of irregular. I've always had issues with it, but now they're kind of coming to a head again. And so I'm not really getting the PMS symptoms other than having tender breasts. I don't really have cramps, so then it's just bam, I have my period. And the last one that I had was actually a very, very short cycle. It was 21 days. So I know things are moving. We do plan on doing some hormone testing just to see where that is. I did do some testing with my doctor, and if you know about the way that things work in Canada, but you either have to pay for tests or your doctor won't recommend that you can get tests done unless there's a reason for it. So basically something already has to be wrong in order for you to be able to get a test done. Even if you're trying to do something preventative, you can't. So don't even get me started on it. So anyways, I'm going to outsource that to the States, and if I give them my money, they're gonna take it. And the same thing goes with even the GI map. I had asked for certain things to be done here, and of course, it was denied. But this video is not really about my frustrations about the healthcare system in Canada. It has more to do with what I'm doing on this journey, how things are going so far. So let's just dive right in. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, things don't change on a weekly basis or a daily basis. You're more or less going to be doing the same thing. Of course, there's going to be things that you're going to do, like having a variety of different foods. So lots of fruits and vegetables. That's one of the biggest things. Something that I didn't do in my other Candida cleanse a few years ago. I was eating the exact same thing every day, creature of habit. But when you do that, when you're more consistent and not eating a variety of different foods, you're not really doing too much for your microbiome. Like your microbiome actually wants to have a variety of different things. That's how you give it everything that it needs, because more times than not, when people eat the same things over and over again, that's when you could develop a food intolerance. That's happened to me. I can't tell you how many intolerances I have. That's also in part from, you know, doing my competitions. I was eating the same thing all the time. And leaky gut, for example, it could actually go into your bloodstream, and then now your blood like determines like, okay, this is an invader, we don't like this, let's attack it. So anytime that you eat that, you have that sort of immune response. Another thing that has kind of been going on is when you do a SIBO protocol, it can exacerbate some of the symptoms. So the bloating, diarrhea was serious. I don't like to talk about that like type of stuff, but it happened and it was really bad. And now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, it's formed. This is a good one. Because before that, I wasn't really showing those symptoms of having SIBO because I didn't really have diarrhea. But then, of course, when you start doing all of this stuff, they always say that it gets worse before it gets better. So, and it definitely has gotten better. I noticed that, like I said, my period pain is not nearly as bad as it was before. Like there would be times where I would actually want to call in sick to work because I couldn't stand, even though I sit at work. So I work from home. I sit for most of my job, but because the pain was so bad, I just wanted to lay down. I've also gotten the clear to finally start working out. So it's not that I wasn't allowed to work out before, it was just that I felt so crappy. So I was only able to work out 2 times a week and my heart rate had to be within a certain range. And they've just increased that up to 3 times. So I went to the gym today, which was my first time in months. I've done a couple of workouts from home. One thing that I noticed is that when you work out from home, you don't have that gym atmosphere where you can push yourself. So I personally really enjoy going to the gym to work out. I love my home gym just because it's so convenient and I have that flexibility of even if I can only do a few sets of something, I can go back to it later. So if I get through half of my workout and I have to go do something, I can just, you know, walk downstairs and do the rest of it. Another little update is I was able to get my calories decreased a little bit. So I am trying to go a little bit harder with things, not in terms of how intense this protocol is going to be, but more so for the aesthetic purposes. I know that's really bad, but I have a wedding coming up. Oh my gosh, I just realized I'm not even wearing my ring. I have my wedding coming up. I went to the gym today, so I haven't put it back on because I don't want to bend it or ruin it. Obviously, it's very expensive. But yeah, so I have the wedding coming up and I'm just, you know, I want to look good. I know that I don't look bad now, but I haven't felt myself since gaining all of this weight. And so I don't think it's that wrong to want to, you know, get back into like how I was before. And even if I'm not there, like I'm likely not going to be able to lose all that weight from now until then. I'm okay with that. I just want to lose a little bit more where I feel more comfortable. And like, cause I don't know if you're new here, then you probably don't know this, but the reason why all of this started and I started looking into my health was because I had a lot of symptoms of, you know, the Candida and all of that. But it was also because while I was doing my bulk, rather than gaining like 5 to 10 pounds, which is what I had anticipated and planned, I actually gained like 27 pounds. It wasn't like all fat either, because as soon as I started doing my cut at the beginning of the year, like I lost weight really quickly. And then when I started my protocol, I dropped another like few pounds. So really I'm like 15 pounds from where I was before. And if I can lose like another like 5 to 10 pounds, like I think I would be very content with that. So we'll see what happens. It's in 2.5 months. I know that progress can obviously be made in that. I used to do bodybuilding. I'm not going to go that hard. I could lose all the weight that I want, but then, well, I'll be in a situation where I gain it all back much quicker than I lost it. So So with trying to lose weight for my wedding, some things that I'm going to do to personally try and, up the ante, make it more intense, is I'm going to start doing 3 workouts a week. They're going to be all full body workouts. No more than 45 minutes. I think that that's a good amount of time. And I'm not going to be lifting super heavy either. It's more so just to get blood flowing into my muscles. I haven't used them in so long. So like me lifting up 10 pounds is pretty hard. I was doing hip thrust today with 35 pounds on each side, and it was a struggle. I used to be able to do much more than that, but I'm like, okay, let's tone it down. This isn't a competition. It's me against me. I need to just scale it back and listen to my body. And so I'm not going to be able to be doing, squats really heavy. Like they're going to be like 60 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that, but I'm not going to go nuts with it is the whole point. I'm in a healing journey. And so when you're in a healing journey, you should focus on doing that healing part. So healing doesn't necessarily mean you take the supplements and, you let the rest fall where it may. I don't like that approach at all. I think that some things that people don't talk about enough is like managing your stress, figuring out, like situations in your life that aren't conducive to you, trying to find peace within yourself, doing things to take care of yourself, like taking, I don't know, an Epsom salt bath, going into the sauna, having walks, doing grounding things. Like these are the things that help so much more than any supplement that you can take. Because if the source of all of your problems is because of stress or, emotional eating because of stress and your emotions, then how is that going to get resolved if you still have those issues that are still there? And I know some things like they can't be eliminated. They're going to be hard to go through, but I think that it's worth trying, right? So anything that you do to try to heal from like an emotional standpoint is going to be super beneficial. So that brings me to my next thing, which was I read the book, How the Body Keeps a Score. I highly recommend it. It's such a wonderful book, and it really touches on how you can store your emotions, your trauma, like the things that you've gone through, even from like past generations, like things that your parents have gone through and passed down to you, how it's stored in the body and how it can manifest in the body. And it can manifest in diseases, it can manifest in, injuries. I'm trying to do everything that I can to heal from that. I've done a lot of work throughout the years. And so I actually went to go see a somatic practitioner. And so it's like light touch. And what they do is they can, help release trauma from inside your body. And I'll try anything. Like if you know me, I'm very open to trying different things. And if I know that it's going to do something, I might not, like if I know that there's like some sort of a benefit to it, I might not look into it like super deeply because I don't want to talk myself out of it or say like, yeah, I don't understand, this doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm just going to be very open-minded and go through it. So I ended up going and doing, I think it was Reiki, or I don't know, so like don't quote me on it. It was a very like wonderful experience. We just had conversation in the beginning just about why, like what brought me there, what I was trying to achieve from it. And I just said, I know that like trauma is stored in the body, so that's something that I want to heal while I'm on this healing journey to, get rid of all the toxins, balance out my gut. I'm trying to heal physically. The least I can do is try to do some stuff emotionally as well. So I lay down on the table. She puts her hands on my hips because that's where I have a lot of like physical pain and sensations. Like I have sciatica on the one side, and my hips are always just very, very tight. And they say that you store your trauma in your hips. So I was like, okay, let's start there and just see what happens. So she had her hands on my hips, and I was kind of just like, felt like I was just waiting. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what to expect. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to get a massage or like, I have no idea. Like I honestly, like I said, I didn't look into it. I did not know that she was just going to like place her hands, keep them put, and then that was it. So that was fine. I was a little weary at that point where I was like, I don't see anything happening. And then all of a sudden I started having these emotions and like things that were just popping into my brain. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about them before. Like there was a moment where I just had been so overcome with emotion that I started crying. And I was like, I don't know why I'm crying, but I just feel really sad and let down now. I ended up having another moment where I was like riding on my tricycle in my kitchen of my childhood home. And I was so happy. I was reckless. I was just doing like whatever. And this was before anything ever happened. And so it was like, it was so wonderful to see my inner child. And I would always try to like engage with that idea that there's like, you know, you have your inner child. But the person that I would always envision was like a very sad one. And I would always tell people like, I have no memories of my childhood. I can't remember a single good thing. And so seeing that and going through that was just such a like a relieving experience to see like, okay, like there was joy at some point. I didn't just have misery. It's that I've spent so much time focusing on those things that maybe I didn't have the ability to think about it because they were not at the forefront. And oftentimes people focus on the negative before they focus on the good. And so that was just like a really nice experience for me. And so I'm going to wrap this up now just by saying that if you are going through a healing journey yourself, whether it's for something like SIBO or Candida or dysbiosis, whatever it is, like maybe it's something completely different and you're on a protocol because, you know, you're trying to get better, then just don't neglect your mental health because mental health plays a huge role into it. There might be some things and it could take a lot of time for you to go through because you are your own best friend. You're gonna watch out for the people that you care for the most. But the person that you should care for the most is yourself. And if you're new here and you haven't already checked out my other video on how I found out I had SIBO, then I suggest you go and take a look at that. Otherwise, I hope that you are having a wonderful day and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.